Welcome to Sunday worship at the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington on this June 20th, 2021. I am here in the Society's meeting house, which has been on this spot for more than 200 years. And for many, many years before that, this land has been a place of meeting and of life of the Western Abenaki people. We acknowledge that this land is our shared responsibility with the Abenaki, with all people. My name is Patricia Hart. I'm the Developmental Senior Minister of this Unitarian Universalist Society, a place of belonging for people from different religious backgrounds and cultural and ethnic backgrounds too. Rather than a common creed, we Unitarian Universalists share a commitment to openness, to acceptance, to living more love and justice into the world, to learning together, reaching out beyond these walls, to care for one another and this community, and to never stop growing into the humans that we are meant to be. Today is Father's Day. I want to wish happiness and love to all fathers. And it is also summer solstice, the time when the sun is the brightest and with us in this northern hemisphere for more hours in the day than any other time in the year. The sun brings brightness and warmth and clarity. And this year, as the pandemic is receding, it brings a time very much of tender and good new beginning. I'm delighted this week to be working with Jeff Duke, who is a member of this congregation and who is taking his first turn as worship associate to share what summer solstice means to him and to remind us how our connection to the earth, our connection to the natural world helps to wake us up to spirit, to wisdom, and to one another. A note: tomorrow, June 21st, there will be the annual Interfaith Summer Solstice Labyrinth Walk right here on the grounds at 5:30. All are very welcome. And if you're watching this on Sunday morning, please know that you are all welcome to join a circle of friends, old and new, at 11 a.m. The coffee hours, our virtual Zoom coffee hour, this may be the last one, so come if you can and help us figure out what we might want to do with Zoom Coffee Hour after we are back together in person and live streaming. And there is also today an opportunity to join a Sunday Circle, which offers a time for deeper connection. The group takes some time to reflect on the sermon topic and where everyone is at the present moment. Links for both of those circles are at uusociety.org. Next Sunday, June 27th, is the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly, and at 10 a.m. on our website, you will be able to watch the live stream service and watch and participate with thousands of other Unitarian Universalists from around the continent. I hope that you will try it out and join in. If you are new to First UU and want to know more about this society or Unitarian Universalism, please visit uusociety.org. Look for the New to Our Community button and tell us who you are. I'm so glad we are here together at a distance. Let us worship.
Hello, I'm Jeff Duke, the worship associate for this summer solstice service. The call to worship is a meditation by Reverend Victoria Safford from her collection, Walking Toward Morning. Call to worship. What if there were a universe, a cosmos which began in shining blackness out of nothing, out of fire, out of a single silent breath, and into it came billions and billions of stars, stars beyond imagining, and near one of them, a world, a blue-green world, so beautiful that learned clergymen could not even speak about it cogently, and brilliant scientists, with their physics, their mathematics, their empirical, impressionistic musings, in trying to describe it, would begin to sound like poets? What if there were a universe in which a world was born out of a smaller star, and into that world, at some point, flew red-winged blackbirds, and into it swam sperm whales, and into it bloomed crocuses, and into it blew wind to lift the tiniest hairs on naked arms in spring, and into it, at some point, grew onions out of the soil. And in went Mount Everest, and also the coyote we've spotted in the woods about a mile from here, just after sunrise on these mornings when the moon is full. The very scent of him makes his brother, our dog, insane with fear and joy and ancient inbred memory. Into that world came animals and elements and plants and imagination, the mind and the mind's eye. If such a universe existed and you noticed it, what would you do? What song would come out of your mouth? What prayer, what praises, what sacred offering? What whirling dance, what religion, and what reverential gesture would you make to greet that world every single day that you were in it?
We light this chalice to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
Good morning. I'm Erika Reif, the Director of Lifespan Faith Development. Today, I'd like to share a storybook with you that reminds us just how little there is that separates us from the natural world and how we are a part of a greater universe, that interconnected web of all existence that we talk about in our 7th UU principle. It was written by Deborah Underwood, who visits outside with long walks in the park. Outside visits her in the form of her scrub jay friend, Fred. The illustrator, Cindy Derby, spent her childhood getting lost in the woods behind her house with her 2 cats. She loves to build forts high up so that she can observe families of deer. And she visits outside on hikes with her dog, Banjo. Outside In by Deborah Underwood and Cindy Derby, published by Houghton, Mifflin, Harcourt. Once we were part of outside, and outside was part of us. There was nothing in between us. Now, sometimes even when we're outside, we're inside. We forget outside is there. So outside reminds us. With flashes at the window and slow magic tricks. It sends the sunset and shadows inside to play. Outside sings to us with chirps and rustles and tap-taps on the roof. It beckons with smells, sun-baked, fresh, and mysterious. Outside feeds us. Sun, rain, and seeds become warm bread and berries. Outside cuddles us in clothes, once puffs of cotton. It holds us in wooden chairs, once trees. We feel outside in the warm weight of our cats and the rough fur of our dogs. Outside shows us there is a time to rest and a time to start fresh. Outside steals inside, a spider seeking shelter, a box elder bug in the bath, a tiny snail on kale. Even rivers come inside, cool water rushing, eager to return to the sea. I'm here, outside says. I miss you. Outside waits. And we answer.
Join me, if you would, for a moment of meditation, of stillness. Take a breath. Let the beauty of this day and the wisdom of this story we've just heard and their images settle in. And hear these joys and sorrows for this day, June 20th, 2021. Joy. Joy for gathering. One particular gathering gave me great joy, the flower communion last Sunday afternoon, right outside this meeting house. There were about 50 people who came, a wonderful mixture of longtime members and others quite new to this community, some of whom have already become a part of the society by attending things online, but who had never before last week set foot or even looked inside this building. I'm so grateful to the flower team, to Sam for his playing, and to the youth group for all the activities that they brought. And another joy that is Fred Persons and ours for him. Fred is very glad to have found a good place to live, a temporary place but with good people and lots of hope for a permanent home. And sorrows too, even fear. Because amid all the hope of this time of recovery, there is grief too, and anger that the recovery is not shared equally among all. Let us hold in our hearts those who have big challenges before them in these weeks and months, challenges of housing and employment and illness or disability, their own or for someone that they love. Hold those people in your heart too, and reach out to them, however, whenever you can. It is a blessing to have this community that holds us all, that reminds us that the joys and sorrows of each of us are the joys and sorrows of all of us. Let us be quiet for a moment with the seagulls and the traffic. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Midsummer Prayer. The dark sky lightens at your approach. A feathered chorus erupts in anticipation, in adulation. Your crown crests the horizon. A new day has dawned. As your chariot mounts the sky, long shadows clinging to hill and tree shrink from your gaze. Where darkness dwelt, now bright light shines. Radiant sun, our own splendid star, your light gives life to our blue-green world. Blazing sun, your warmth creates the winds and currents that stir the cauldron of life on our Mother Earth. On this summer solstice, we honor you and give thanks for your many gifts. May your golden radiance flow across all the land, bringing healing and sustenance to all beings. May your brilliant rays pierce the clouds of ignorance, revealing the truth and leading us to deeper understanding. May your clear light kindle the flame of our true will, guiding us each to choose our path with intention. May the heat of your enduring fire help us to clear that which impedes the work of creating a just and loving world. And when your journey across the solstice sky is done, let the memory of your light and warmth give us courage and strength and hope, even in the darkest of times. On this summer solstice day, we give thanks to the sun for its blessings of light and of life. Blessed be. Please accept this blessing, this offering. Blessed be.
The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. Aye, 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 aye.
We take up an offering every week to remember that this congregation exists in the world and does what it does because people believe in it and decide to support it. We also take up an offering every week in order to share it with some organization in the community that is doing the work every day that our principles and our values tell us matters so much. The beneficiary of our Share the Plate in June is the Vermont Agrarian Commons and Bread and Butter Farm. Agrarian Commons are working with local farmers to help make organic and regenerative farming a viable profession for the next generation of young, diverse farmers. Your contribution will make a difference in the world, in people's lives. So be generous. Thank you for your gifts. We dedicate these gifts in the service of our mission, to inspire spiritual growth, to care for one another and our community, to seek truth, and to act for justice. When did you see the sunrise? Perhaps it just happened because you always get up early, or you pulled an all-nighter, or you were unable to sleep, or because you were ill or worried, or because you were taking care of someone who needed you more than you needed sleep. Or perhaps you saw the sun rise on purpose, because you were somehow called to witness this daily miracle, to watch, awake, as the whole sky shifts from gray to blue, as an exact point on the horizon where the sun will appear becomes lighter than the rest. And still you wait until the sliver of light, and then the bright red gold crescent appears, the top of the sun, and it's too much to look at directly. You can almost feel the earth spinning as the sun powers its way up into the sky. And there it is, the sun, risen, just as you knew it would be, and still it's a shock, a joy. If you hang around churches long enough, even Unitarian Universalist congregations, somebody is going to schedule a sunrise service on Easter. Now, this is a risky business, especially in New England. The first time I went to an Easter sunrise service was in Maine. It was a drizzling, cold, completely overcast, lousy April day. We sang Morning Has Broken, but more as a statement of faith, since there was no sign of sun anywhere that we could see. My preoccupation moved to the coffee and muffins that I had heard would be waiting for us back at the church. I remember all of that as especially delicious. Years later, after I'd become a minister, I led an Easter sunrise service on the beach in Cohasset on the south shore of Massachusetts. It was another cold April day. It was bright and windy. I remember shouting to be heard over the wind and the waves. I remember wearing my winter coat and wishing I had a hat. We sang "Morning Has Broken," and we could sort of hear one another. I'm pretty sure that the dogs who had come along on the trip had the best time of any of us. A quarter century ago, approximately, I was at a pivot point in my life. I knew that everything was about to change, though the path ahead was not at all clear to me. That summer, my family and I spent a week in a cottage on an island in Maine, and a particular island, beloved of my children. The cottage we stayed in was built by their father's grandfather in the early decades of the 20th century. It's nothing fancy, but it is right off the beach, and it faces east, actually almost northeast. The joke is that the nor'easters can blow right in through the porch door. It was a full summer when we were there, and I decided, on the way up, I decided that I would watch the sun rise. So on the first morning that we were there, I woke up early, much earlier than I normally do, not because of an alarm clock, just because I had decided I was going to watch the sunrise. It was sometime before 5, and I got up and I quietly put on my clothes and I walked down the center hallway of the cottage and quietly out the porch door and down the steps and across the yard and down the steps to the beach, across the rocky, seaweed-strewn beach to the point. It was a point of rock. I think it's probably shale rock. And that was the spot. And I sat down, and I closed my eyes, and I opened them again, and I sat, and I waited, and the sun came up. And it was extraordinary. When I got back to the cottage, when everybody else woke up, I started talking about how amazing it was to watch the sunrise on the point, and they all sort of nodded as they were eating their cereal. But I thought about it all that day, so that the next morning I also woke up really early, and I got up quietly and put on my clothes and went out and down the steps and across the beach to the point. And this time I had brought a towel, and I sat down and I meditated and I watched as the sun rose. And when I came back in, I told everybody again what an amazing thing this was that I was doing, that I was waking up, that I was watching the sunrise, and they all nodded. Nobody seemed all that interested. I did it every day that week. Now, one day that was super cloudy, maybe I didn't, but the other ones I did. I watched the sunrise. And on the very last day that we were in the cottage, I woke up at what had become my normal time of 4:45, and I got up and I got my clothes on and I opened the door into the hallway, and I saw that the door to my youngest son Charlie's room was open, and though his bed had been slept in, he was not in it. I had a moment of panic, but there really wasn't anywhere he could have gone on the island, and I decided I knew probably where he was. And as I left the cottage and went down the steps and across and was just about to walk down to the beach, I saw him, a little figure. He was 9 years old, almost all the way to the point. So I walked down to join him. By the time I got there, he was already sitting down, and so we looked at each other. I said hi, he said hi, but we didn't say anything else. And I rolled out my towel and I sat down and I closed my eyes to meditate for a few minutes, as had become my practice on those days. And while I was quiet for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, I don't know how long, I could hear Charlie moving around me on the point, doing something. I didn't know what. And I felt that light on my face as the sun is coming up, and I opened my eyes and I saw the sun, and I looked down and I saw on my towel this perfect round rock. It was actually a reassembled rock. It was the shale breaks off in sheets, and somehow this rock had gotten separated into lots of parts, and Charlie had found all of those parts and put them together and left it for me, knowing, as he does, how much I love rocks, left it for me on the edge of my towel. And I said thanks, and we didn't say anything else, and we gathered up the towel and ourselves and the rock, and we walked back up to the cottage and had breakfast. It was probably in that same period of my life when I first heard Mary Oliver read her poem, The Summer Day. "Who made the world?" she wrote. "Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I do not know how to preach to you about the sunrise, how to wax eloquent about this beautiful, miraculous, damaged, evolving, adapting earth in whose life we all dwell. We could learn about it. We could explain important things to each other, like what we must do to mitigate the climate crisis our humankind has is causing. What we might, if we do it together, be able to do to work to slow that crisis and to survive. We can do that and must for one another and all other beings. But I don't have words to teach you how to pray or how to rejoice in the beauty, how to let it change us. I only know how to tell stories and recite poems and ask questions. Victoria Safford, in that wonderful piece that Jeff read, she writes of a blue-green world so beautiful that learned clergymen cannot even speak about it cogently, and brilliant scientists, in trying to describe it, would begin to sound like poets. If such a universe existed and you noticed it, she asks, what would you do? What song would come out of your mouth? What prayer? What praises? What sacred offering? What whirling dance? What religion? And what reverential gesture would you make to greet that world every single day you were in it? The sun will rise tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Maybe you can watch. Maybe you can discover your answers. So may it be. So may it blessed be. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again. Benediction today. Shine by Mary Eades. Like the cosmic dust following after a great Perseid meteor, we are the living remnants of time and all that has come to pass in its wake, briefly shining lights on the way to eternity. We are only visible to the naked eye for an instant. Take this moment to shine like the stardust you are. May the light of our time on earth shine to bless the world and each other. Shine, shine, shine. Go in peace.